This is John McAllister, and today on my podcast around the state, I'm going to talk with Chuck Gresham out of Columbus, Ohio, Central Ohio, and Chuck he's worked with me with my camps and combines. He's a certified trainer, and he works with young athletes, high school, college, or I think some pro guys, but he is a strength, speed trainer, all around athletic trainer, and he does a great job. And he's going to give you some ideas about, you know, the strength training program that he runs in Columbus. Excited. He's a hard worker. He's very intelligent. He's thorough and he's intense and he loves kids. So you can't go wrong. And I'm really excited to have him on the show, on the program today. It's my pleasure to introduce Charles Gresham out of Central Ohio and Columbus. And the very first thing I will tell you is that we worked together, so I'm going to be prejudiced for him. And all he said, I believe in what he does, and I believe in what he says, and I will support him. So, any competitors out there, that's just the way it is. Chuck, you're involved in, I don't know what they even call it now, strength training, power training, speed training. What do you do and what do you call it? Okay.
I would say that I'm more of a strength and conditioning coach, but nowadays they call it performance training, specializations in different sports. There's a lot of people who have a lot of different accolades and things that they have that are different. Some do just completely weight room work. Some do speed and agility. Some people are just feet work people. Some people just really try to make all of the movements that they do specific to one sport or one position. I try to have a little vernacular of all things because other sports need other things than just what football might need or basketball might need. But I try to keep it pertaining to being the most athletic person that you can possibly be, because that's the best thing you can do for your client or the person that you're working with is make them the most athletic person that they can be so they can transfer to all sports, not just one.
Right. We're going to come back to that in a minute. Okay. Now, and you work out of Columbus. And what's the name of the company?
I'm at KSM Sports and Fitness on Powell Road. Um, Family Fun and Fitness is our motto, and we love to have all ages, all types of sports, all different types of vernaculars, all different types of body shapes, everything.
Super. Now, let's do a little history. Take me back. I know you're a Columbus Eastmore guy, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you've got some friends that I've known. I think I even wrote about you back in the day, but you weren't the tallest linebacker around. I
No,
don't think,
sir.
who's the other guy who went on to Ohio State? He wasn't very tall either. But
Mr. Deontay Johnson, one of my good friends.
yeah, he's a good guy. I know he's coaching. Okay, let's pick it up after high school. Give me a real quick background on your training that you've had.
Um, I went to Youngstown State, played football there, and that's where I fell in love with the weight room. I've always liked the weight room, being a chubby kid when I was growing up, and I just always wanted to be able to improve myself. And I knew the body was one thing that you could always change if your mental was right. So I took on the exercise science degree at Youngstown State University, added a minor in nutrition, and from there, after my football days were over, I asked the Coach Brookie there, Coach Berkey at that point in time was our head strength coach. I asked him if I could intern with him and just see if that was a position I would actually love. And I got into it, and just my ability to socialize and be able to impact a lot of different people of different shapes, size, ethnicities, and also sports was just easy for me. It wasn't a lot of work. It wasn't a job for me. It was a passion more so.
So you interned at YSU, right?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
now what did you do after that?
So I was at YSU. My second year, I became a paid GA with John Patrick. I was the head of track and field and tennis. I assisted with football, basketball, baseball, swimming, diving, women's soccer, and um, that's pretty much all of them. From that point, I graduated and I moved on to Ohio State football with Tressel and his crew of guys in 2010. Right after they came off the Arkansas win in the bowl game that they had, and from there I stayed at Ohio State for 2 years as Luke Fickell took over the head coaching position. I was there. After that season, I went on to go to D1 sports training with draft training with the head strength trainer from Ohio State, Eric Lichter. I was pretty much his apprentice. I came up under him, learning his speed techniques, power techniques, explosive techniques. And we did draft training with guys like Brian Roll, Chimdi Chekwa, Brandon Sane, Devere Posey, Boom Heron. I mean, it was just a bunch of guys. Even Tayshawn Gibson was in my first class, a guy who's been a pro bowler so many times and now plays for Chicago Bears. Levon Brazil out of OU. And from there, I took on the head strength coach job at D1 Sports Training for the next 9 years. It was a great time there. Put a lot of kids in college. We have over 100 D1 scholarships out of that building alone, and we're still building. Out of that, we had more than 190 scholarships if you count D2, D1 AA, counting the women's and men's, not just football. We're talking about overall D1 scholarships across the board, and we're still counting till this day. I've left there now, and I am with KSM Sports and Fitness. I'm the head strength trainer there. I also have added a business of recovery where I do recovery to bodies throughout the season. I got a lot of high profile guys right now who I'm working on, who I love, that I have that opportunity to work on.
We might come back to that. Okay.
Yes, sir. Gotcha.
Later on, okay. Because that's interesting. Well, I guess it was so important to me that you get your credibility out there. And, you started at YSU and, not everybody gets into Ohio State, and you're still. The other thing I like is you are always continuing to work, read on stuff, learn new things, and that's that recovery program that you're working on now. It's a great you bring guys back from bruises and bumps and all that stuff, soreness and everything. And you're talking about college and pro guys.
Yes, sir.
I think the thing that some people, because I think you operate a little differently than some, and you take it and you really push these guys, and you have pros and Canadian pro league players, and you have college players, and I think some people think you're more geared that way, but you do a tremendous job with high school people, and as evidenced by Jack Sawyer. Okay. And then Jack had something to start with, but you really, really built him up. And if you don't know who Jack Sawyer is, well, some of you can Google it. Okay. You and I got started totally different because you worked my camps and combines. No strength training, speed training. But what you brought to the table was honesty and exactness. And that's what I really, really liked. If it was a 4.2 40, it was a 4.2 40. You had everything right, and you gave me a lot of help. Let's go over to, they don't really run camps or run combines anymore. But why is that important to be able to do those combine testing skills?
I believe, yes, sir. I believe that it's the entry gate to all of the great camps that you go to. As being on Ohio State staff, I kind of got the inside understanding of how these camps work for a lot of college coaches. And after the eye test, when you walk through the door, it's what do you know? And are you able to be disciplined to learn another part of the game that has nothing to do really with the game? It's a test Did you prepare for the test? Were you disciplined enough to train on your own? Did you go seek help? Did you overstep and make sure you understood your steps every time? It's that preconceived understanding that this kid works harder than anything else, than more than just at his sport. The part about the testing is are you fast? Are you the fastest person that you could possibly be? Are you running right? Are you running out of control? Even from the warm-ups, from the things that we've done in the past, we knew who were going to be fast, who was just a complete athlete, just after the warm-up. Balance, control, poise, understanding,
Who
taking the
was
warm-up
going to be
serious.
balanced? Balance is so, you just said it, but I think that's really important too, because guys will be falling all over the place and everything else doing the warm up drills. Okay,
Yes.
good. And
And just going through it with like the 40-yard dash and seeing the kids prepare themselves for it and being good at it from the start, making sure they're not just straight line speed fast, but also side to side, making sure that they can make those cuts out of the 5-10-5. A lot of kids can be straight line fast, and that's track fast, but football has never been a straight line game. You got to run between the tackles. You got to run between people. Can you get side to side and make a tackle? The L cone drill is the best way for people to understand whether you can get around people, get around back, and still have speed while you do it and be under control. That's the poise in the body, the balance in the body, and the ability to stick and get away from things. Vertical jump, explosive power. Broad jump, explosive power out. To be able to do all these things makes you know that this kid is ready to play at a Division I, Division II, or D1 AA, or even D3 level, depending on what they test out at.
right. And the other thing, I like the jumping. I like the broad jump and the vertical jump because it's explosion, and that seems really, it's probably the easiest ones to do, but it's really really important to me. And then I think the other thing, and we're going to leave this, but we had some really good ones. We're going to leave this with always touch the line. Always touch the line. That's finish, touch the line. But you agree with me. I know that. But
Yes,
okay,
sir.
let's talk about speed, training, speed work, or skills and fundamentals. If people aren't correct in what they're doing, I call that third one almost playtime. I go sometimes and watch what they call work. They're going to train these guys, and all they do is play pitch and catch and have fun. They're not really getting anything out of it, but having fun. And if that's what you want to do, that's okay. They probably shouldn't come to your place or some other places in Columbus because that's not what you do. Tell me the difference between strength training and speed work, speed training.
Yes. So basically, what we have strength training, which is more so on the side of the muscle being built for performance for whatever position that you play. That is where you get in the weight room and you're conditioning that muscle to take on the force that you're putting through the ground and the force that you're using for those jumps and those explosive broad jumps. The other piece of it is that really putting a kid in a situation where it's mind over matter. You can look at weights all day and think, okay, that's a big weight I can get. Or you can be a kid that's like, well, I really just don't want to touch weights because I'm already fast. And that's not the best way to look at it. What you have to understand with strength training is everybody's body is different, but we can all do the same movements as long as we're taught the right way. I always teach my kids the 3 L's: learn it, lift it a bunch of times, then load the bar. If you go in any opposite order, there's a chance and a risk of injury at any point in time. What we're looking for is to gradually progress a kid from where they are to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. And as they understand those steps, they will get stronger over time. But don't rush the process. There's no point in rushing the process. Form is over everything. If you have bad form in something, trust me, it will show later on in life with an injury that you might have or a positional problem where you can't get your stability or you don't even have the flexibility because you're so messed up in the way that you learned it that you're over muscled down in certain areas, which is risk of injury all over again, or taking your position and making it very acute. You don't have a lot of positions to go when you become stiff in muscle. With the strength training, it goes hand in hand with speed. Some people are just powerful off the ground. For those who are not powerful, we gain power with that. for those who don't have a lot of body size but are fast, we're giving them body size that allows them to control the mass that they gain over time so they can continue to play this game at a high level and actually be the best athlete they can be at higher weights to take away risk of injury. All this is a protective armor and a utilization of the muscles to be used in the right, correct way to be safe, be fast, be at the best opportunity points in time to go up and get a ball, change direction and reaction. A lot of people think strength training is just completely physical in what the performance might be in peak. But in reality, it's a mental game. It's an understanding of progression of work and understanding that you got to start at the bottom and get to the top. There's a mountain to climb. The stronger you are, you've climbed a lot of mountains. And that's what we're looking for. It's a game between you and that weight. Mind over matter, move weight. No matter what, at the end of the day, if you do what you're supposed to do and you gradually take those steps up your road, you'll get stronger, you'll get faster, and you'll be in the right position to make plays.
Super, super. And you will make plays. Okay, let's talk about, let's go different sports first. Okay. I've been down to your place and I see you have a basketball player over there just, and he's really good. He was like 6, I don't know, he's a giant, a young kid, 6'6", and he was, he's getting stronger, and it's important. And we'll get to the women next, but with high school kids, I think it's important for everybody. Think it's football. It's football. Well, you have baseball. You have swimmers that used to come to your place. I remember you have baseball players that come. You have track guys, and you can provide an opportunity for all those guys, right? Correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because Chuck Gresham knows what muscles they use most in baseball. What muscles they don't. I'm telling you like I think it is. But
Yes,
even
sir.
swimmers, and you've had, and I think the other thing neat while I'm thinking of that is you go watch them perform too. It's like the teacher goes and watches the kid take the test, and you do that. But let's talk. I mean, I think that's enough, but it's important that you do other sports, and it's important. It's huge, right? Okay.
I've found that in every time that I take on a new challenge, I learn something new and I learn something that could possibly help another sport. By doing all these different sports, it's very challenging to me because either I've never played them or I just needed to know the muscle groups that are used. Normally, I go out there and actually play with the kids and see exactly what they're doing. Even if I'm not good at it, I just got to take a chance. It's learning experience. It's understanding what they do, how they do it, and just making up workouts that are creative towards their sport. I mean, I've never played field hockey, but guess what? I got field hockey girls. I've never dove off a diving board, but I got 4 state champions in diving. That's because I've actually taken an interest in their sport to the point where I understand what they're looking for, why they're doing it. And it's also about talking to the kids. At the end of the day, when I use my divers, for example, who jump completely all out the gym and they're off a board, guess what? I can use that for my wide receivers, my basketball players. And the 2 guys you're talking about, my basketball players, are the twin Ds. We got Donovan Hunter at Westerville Central. He was in the state championship game. And then you've got Devin Royal out of Pickerington Central. He just got a Penn State offer. I mean, the kid's phenomenal. Both these kids are phenomenal. 167, 166, both sophomores, about to be juniors. And they didn't know anything about weights. They were just tall basketball players. But what we've added to them is the ability to be strong, amazing physical specimens that coaches are looking for. My identity for my players is to walk in the door as a junior or senior and look like a college sophomore or junior. That gives you so much more ability as a player because the coach is looking at you like, man, you could play tomorrow. There's some people that always, the joke is for a lot of my guys when they go to college visits is, hey man, you can go out there and play right now. You look like you can play right now. Whereas most kids walk in the door and they're like, oh, we can put pounds on you here. We can put pounds on you there. I mean, going back to Jack Sawyer, we put 30 pounds on Jack Sawyer. That's why he's ready to go play right now. Kid is phenomenal. But we've done that with many other people too. It's just about taking what they have and gaining more and more each day, but not taking them out of their ability status. If I put 30 pounds on somebody and the vertical goes down 6 inches, did I help them or hurt them? I hurt them. So I want to make sure that we put 30 pounds on him. His vertical goes up by 2 to 4 inches. His body size is completely massive and shredded, and he's able to go out there with grown men and tell them, "Hey, I'm ready. I know I'm 18. I know I'm 17. But at the end of the day, you won't have to worry about me at the end of this practice or a chance to go out here and play." And I love that. And like a lot of my guys who play basketball this year, they had never touched a weight and never really touching the weight. They go in there, they kind of touch it, but they also didn't trust the people that were teaching them those things all the time. And that's the first thing I gain with my kids is the trust and understanding that I've been here before, I've done it many times, and I'm going to take you to the top no matter who you are. If you're a role player, I want you to be the next player in line, be the number two. If you're the number two player, I want you to be the star player. And if you're the star player, we're going to make you even better. And that's the number one point, is to get the trust out of the kids and make them understand that you're going to make them great at everything that you have every day that you come in.
Let's talk about the opposite side, or I guess I'll probably get fired. But let's talk about the women, the ladies, the girls. It's so important for them. How do you, we got to speed along here, but how do you distinguish what they do, Chuck? Obviously, you read up on it. Different muscle use, different. You got to be careful, maybe with the knees a little bit. I don't know, but let's talk about why it's important for girls or young women to be there.
To be honest with you, it's crazy. I've had really more success in my mindset with the female athletes than I have the men, and it's wild because they just take to the training. They just want to be trained. They want to be trained just like guys. The first thing I tell every female athlete or team that I work with is, hey, you are not a female, you're not a male. I want you to be an athlete. I will never try to make you do something that you can't do. So that's gaining trust, first off. And then secondly, just letting them know, hey, I'm not going to treat you or give you any type of different workout from the males. I want you to go out here and be the best you can. We might lighten the weight, we might modify the exercise, but we're not going to give you anything different. I want you to go out there and be the toughest girl there is and just give them that mindset that they can do anything in the world that they put their mind to. And if you do that, you will go out there and win championships. We did it with DeSales in 2019, state championships, DeSales lacrosse. I love that team. They were a fighter. They went out there. I gave them everything they needed preseason so that they could go out there and be the best team there was. Right now, I'm working with Liberty Lacrosse. I'm working with DeSales Lacrosse, Thomas Worthington Field Hockey, who's always been in the state championship likeliness. And then I'm also working with Thomas Worthington Volleyball. And I've just told those girls that, hey, you give me some time, you give me great effort, you give me a great attitude, and let me do the rest. Just follow my direction, follow my lead, and we'll make great athletes out of you.
For sure. Okay, now let's talk about a negative thing. I hope it's not. And we're going to close up here. Great interview, great knowledge, but I'm trying to work this words correctly. How hard is it? Is it getting better working with schools, with what they do and you do? Is it getting a little bit better? Because I think coaches sometimes worry about you stealing their thunder. Is that getting better, Chuck?
I think that we are starting to distinguish an understanding with the coaches that we're not trying to take their players away from them or take the camaraderie of the team atmosphere away from them. What we're trying to do is just help that player who might not get enough at their school because the competitive level isn't as high, or they don't have enough time to work with that individual enough, because you only get 45 minutes in the weight room at a high school, where I can give an hour 15, hour 20, and that might make the difference between a kid being okay or being great or being amazing, and it's not the fact that I want to take them away from their high schools. I just want to give them their individual attention to let them have those finer details be met, so we get a hang clean right, we get a deadlift right, taking the risk of injury away, doing a squat right, getting more parallel, having more flexibility, really breaking that down. But as a head coach for a football, basketball, or track team, you're yelling at 30 guys to do the same thing, which is not really possible. And I don't want the coach to feel like I'm trying to take away from what they know, but I'm trying to help them help the kids that aren't either doing good or kids that want more. And it's hard for them to give up their time. Most of them are parents. Most of them are husbands. Most of them have other things that are on their plate. So let me take a little bit off your plate and you can relax a little bit so I can help that kid become great with the small details. I've been in a strength program for almost going on 12 years now, you know, being a strength coach from Ohio State to Youngstown State to being at a private sector. And those are the things that create that tunnel of greatness, is those small details. And when I get those details right, so nobody else has to correct them when they do go to the gym with their coaches and they do those maintenance lifts within the school year, within the season, they're still correct because we've identified things that they don't correctly do right, nor do you have to broadband the spectrum of, hey, so every person here, you have to do this right. I just want to make it so that they know what they're doing, which takes a little bit of pressure off some of the coaches to know that that kid is doing it right. And maybe he might teach somebody else. And then he becomes a leader because he knows something that somebody else doesn't know. And it helps the rest of the team. And it's a trickle effect. I don't want to take them away from their school. Never want to do that. What I want to do is give them the best tools available to be the best player for that coach. You know, I'm not going to come over there and tell a coach how to run plays, but I am going to tell this kid how to weight lift right. So when he does get in your weight room, he's doing it correctly. You don't have injuries. You don't have any problems in performance. And they're coming out with the most gusto strength they could possibly ever have. And they're being able to utilize that in your offense, your defense, or what have you.
Okay, sounds really good. I would, my late wife was taught talented and gifted programs, and she always said, and she got a lot of flack because, some of the kids weren't straight A students and some of them were C students and some of them marched to different drummers, but they all had a talent. And she always tried to take that above what they could do. It's a lot like what you're talking about. Well, Coach Gresham, we may get back to you again, okay? And you're a hard guy to track down because you're always working, but not like me. I don't work. But I really appreciate it, and we'll get back on here sometime. Maybe even talk about certain drills that kids should know. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thanks. I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Anytime.
Thanks.